Okay, today is a day of international solidarity with the Belarusian Revolution. There are protests and actions going on all over the world. I'm sitting in my apartment in Pittsburgh, but I'm trying to do my part by reading some of the translations I've done of Belarusian protest poetry. Okay, so the first poem is not from the current revolutionary uprising, but from an earlier period, by Tatiana Sapach, who died in 2010. But it fits, I think, perfectly with what's going on today. The translation is from a Russian translation of the original Belarusian that was done by Gennady Kanyevsky. Okay. Listen, Grandad. Yesterday they promised us freedom, and now since morning the squares are filled with people, led on by joy, and it will never abandon us, and from this day I want to part with you. Listen, Sonny, yesterday winter arrived, and the trees decided to try on white dresses, and the ice holes are slightly covered with early frost, and everywhere the cold hides both scents and stink, and all this will hold firm until a wind comes from outside. Then, on the roads, old wounds will open, if only the sun tears off the bandages, and blood and dirt will turn out to be the joy and the freedom you called for. And here, under the earth, here where there are low vaults and mold, on the dark wall, dear flecks of light will play, from the tiny mirror of bright and eternal hope. But today, in this book, where there are no final pages, no covers, where you, masters of the crazy times, lived, I will place a leaf instead of a bookmark from a wonderful geranium that resembles blood and fire. Okay, the next poem is by Volha Hronskaya. It's hard to say, Hronskaya. Translated from a Russian interlinear that was done by Sasha Razor. Okay. My power is born in the depth of a pristine river, which has always flowed in me, from the magic of hands moving and caressing words, from the knowledge of signs, potions, spells, of how to cast a spell over evil with my light, how to dance at the edge and sing my pain. And so there is a river in me there is a current, the peaceful calm of the source and the dark pool, the motion of a mill wheel, life and death. To be born, one must cross the night, escape the dragnet of fear, drop into fire, sew the red rhythm of your sick heart on your skin with a thread, stomp your feet to the beat. Once born, one must let one's water flow into the current of cobbled streets, the living current wreathed of rivers alike and close, and flow through the city, above the river that keeps the memory and depth of the earth. Each of us is a river above this river. If only we could embrace the city with our sleeves and guard it against the enemy like we guard it. Okay, this one is by Pavel Kapansky, also translated from a Russian interlinear done by Sasha Razor. The whisper of 1,000 voices is not burning in the stove, rising from underwater, and it explodes. The whisper of 1,000 voices, like a prayer to those who cannot hear the beating of their own heart, not an iota of conscience, not the circulation of history like blood, to those who cannot see because they do not believe their own eyes, because they close them and live their lie, to those who don't get it, not you, not me, not themselves. Okay. The last two poems I'm going to read are by Dmitry Strotsev, who writes in Russian, and I'm going to read the Russian and the English. The first poem was published just yesterday. It expresses support for the protests going on in the Russian Federation right now, all across the Russian Federation. And it's important to realize that what's going on now is really a post-Soviet revolution, you could say, because, against the entire array of corrupt and dictatorial regimes that replaced the Soviet Union. Okay, one trigger warning: this poem contains a bit of xenophobia, But if you just replace the word dog with worker in an Apple sweatshop, Apple computer sweatshop, I think it makes sense what's going on. Okay. Мы с женой не революционеры, беспартийные, безоружные. В нашем доме поселился дракон, бронированный и плотоядный. Больше всего он любит наших детей. Они уже избиты, как китайская собака, и освежеваны. Мы дико устали их прятать. У нас больше нет потайных углов. Что нам делать, миролюбцы, драконофилы, за вашу и нашу свободу? Okay. Dear Russian or Rosian friends, please accept our support. We feel for you. We're praying for you. My wife and I aren't revolutionaries. We aren't party members and we don't bear arms. A dragon has moved into our house, in armor and eating flesh. He likes our children most of all. They're already tenderized and dressed like a Chinese dog. We're mad tired of hiding them. We don't have any more secret corners. What should we do, lovers of peace, dragonophiles? To your freedom and ours. Okay, and the next one, the final poem, it was one of the most important poems from the cycle Belarus Overturned, Опрокинута, where Streltsov collected all of his protest poems from the first part of the Belarusian Revolution. Это самое счастливое время всей моей жизни, говорит. Это как жизнь после смерти, сама жизнь вместо смерти. Это невозможно объяснить и не надо. Невозможно было предугадать и невозможно не признать мгновенно. Это идешь среди мертвых домов, и вдруг воскрешение мертвых. Вокруг воскрешения мертвых. Люди вокруг выходят из мертвых домов, восстают из гробов и выходят, изумленные толпы, выходят. И сонмы живых. Они хохочут и плачут, и поют, и танцуют, как бессмертные. Как на мертвых кустах распускаются почки, как пространство купается в облаке алых и белых цветов. Как пчелы гудят и хмелеют, тяжелые пьяные пыльце. Как они любят друг друга, как никто никогда в моей жизни говорит. This is the happiest time of my entire life, someone says. Like life after death. Instead of death, life itself. It's impossible to explain, and you don't have to. Impossible to predict, impossible not to admit that moment when you're walking among dead apartment blocks and suddenly resurrection of the dead all around you, resurrection of the dead. People all around are coming out of the dead houses, rising from their coffins and coming out, out, out. Crowds struck with wonder coming out, hosts and hosts of the living. They roar with laughter and cry and sing and dance like immortals. As buds open on the dead bushes, as space swims in a cloud of red and white flowers, as the bees buzz on the hops in the drunk heavy pollen, as they love each other like no one, never in my whole life, someone is saying. Translator's note, the Russian for a block of flats or apartments is dom, which is the same word for house and the same word for home. The word svet means both flower and color in Russian, and in this poem it refers to the Belarusian red and white, or white, red, white revolutionary flag. Okay. Живе Беларусь, живе вечно.